What's up? It's that time of the month. You know what time? That's right. Majora T time. So this is the second installment in Majora T. And last month was a success. I was very happy with how it turned out. A lot of people tuned in for the premiere, and even after the fact, I had some good videos to make out of it. I didn't fully utilize it how I intended, but that's okay. I was still happy with the end result, and I'm hoping today's ends up even better. So stick with me. Today's going to be another great installment for Majora T. Alright, let's kick things off with the month review. So with month review, we're going to review just some things that came to pass, some games I played, some books I read, and what else has been going on, and sort of where the future is going to take me. So I figure we're better to start than with the books, that way we can knock them out of the way. And there's only two. I've only finished one, and I'm in the process of reading the other. The first I had mentioned last time, The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. I talk about Isaac Asimov a lot. He's my favorite author. I love the Foundation series. That's the pinnacle of science fiction to me, and I haven't even finished it, but I'm really looking forward to it. The Gods Themselves is also part of a trilogy, and the publication date was 1970, so I think this is actually after the esteemed Foundation novels. And I kind of see how The Gods Themselves draws inspiration from Foundation, namely in the style of telling several narratives at once in one book. So I had mentioned how this book had started off with a scientist who is somewhat of an outcast. It takes two other directions after that, and the second one is a little confusing. It follows the paths of these Martian children, or these young Martians, and this society where the Martians have a very specific breeding pattern and how the electron transfer affects them, and they begin to develop an understanding of like how the electrons may or may not be causing something negative for like the outside universes. It's a little complicated to follow. That was not the highlight of this book. I had to kind of push myself through it. The third part is where it gets good again, and that's where it actually follows a society on the moon that feels like they're the sort of intermediary between Mars and planet Earth in their electron transfer, and they're sort of discovering what their role is. This was not his finest work. I was not really, I wouldn't say I wasn't impressed with it, but I just wasn't content with it. It was a bit of a chore to read. I would not recommend The Gods Themselves, but if you are interested in the concept of parallel universes, this is not a bad book. I mean, it's a bit of a challenge, and that's when I'm reading, I don't want something that's so challenging for me to grasp, or something that's like intentionally obtuse. Gods Themselves. The second book I've begun reading is Of Mice and Men. I'm about halfway through. It's a short book, classic though, and it's about your classic duo bros who are kind of traveling and trying to get money real quick, but they kind of like integrate into this southern society, I would say. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a farming culture, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. Yeah, I mean, this, even though like it's my first time reading it, I could see how other works have adopted the framework for Of Mice and Men. And I think there was a cartoon I had once seen where the guy's like, "Where did he go? Where did he go, George?" That's clearly from this book. So I want to see how it ends. They kind of like, you can see where it's going. Like there's this drunk guy in the town, or his name's Curly. He likes to fight. I wouldn't call him a drunk actually, but he's got this girlfriend who like looks around at all the guys, and Curly's always like chasing after her and like picking fights with guys that are bigger than him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the hell happens to Curly and how George and Lenny navigate this town. Anyways, Of Mice and Men. Now let's get to the games. This is what y'all have been waiting for, isn't it? Let's do these in direct order of completion. So not too long after I finished Majora T 1, I had finished playing Metroid Samus Returns. And I said I got to the final boss. Apparently, I was entirely wrong. That was not the final boss. The final boss was actually really good. And, I had talked about like 5 stars, 4 stars. This is the first 2D Metroid game I've finished. I don't know what it is about the other ones. They're a bit challenging, like navigating the map and everything. So being able to finish this was somewhat of an accomplishment for me. The issue is that, with these modern Nintendo 2D platformers, they baby you a little bit. This is still a hard game. I think I played it on normal difficulty. And I genuinely did have a difficult time, but I did 100% the game, and I didn't actually find it that difficult to 100%, which calls into question, how much they're really building the same classic Metroid that you may know and love into this. I don't know that they were going for that, even though it says on the back here, Classic Metroid Returns. It is in the vein of Classic Metroid, but you can tell that they've made adaptations to make it a lot easier. There was one issue I really had, which was with one of the upgrades. You need to know how to fully utilize it to 100% the game, and it's not actually revealed. And it's like, it's so far-fetched. Like, it's a way that you utilize the morph ball. I won't say how, but I actually did have to look up a second fact online to figure that out, like how I was supposed to use it. And that was a little annoying, but like it's just a little nitpick. Otherwise, the action in this game is really good. The difficulty is up there as far as the combat and the exploration. It's a well layered game. I really do like how much time went into making it. So, Samus Returns. One other thing I would say is that I kind of wish this was a home console game. This is the first game I've played on the 3DS where I was like, this would make sense on a home console. Like one that you plug into the TV, like surround sound, high definition graphics. I totally saw this one as belonging on like the Nintendo Switch or something. Pardon the interruption. Just got a little sniffly. All right, I'm going to talk about these next two together. So these came right after Metroid Samus Returns. I busted out the Game Boy Player on my GameCube and played a couple Game Boy games. Nemesis first, and then Gradius Galaxies. These are both in the Gradius series, which I hadn't played before, but I definitely appreciate now. As you probably know, I like my spaceship shooters. I've played several in my life, but I have trouble finishing them sometimes. I didn't find either of these so complicated that I couldn't finish them. This one was very playable. This one was a little annoying. I really like Nemesis for just being your basic shooter, and also for, not being too difficult, but still giving you a challenge. It gives you the option to put 99 lives in. I put in 99 and I finished using like 27 on my first try. I would like to bring that number down, maybe do a 1 credit run sometime. The music was great, Game Boy chiptune, and the colors, like it's monochromatic, so it doesn't actually look that impressive, but it plays well, and that's what counts. I really like Nemesis. Gradius Galaxies is a bit more impressive. You have like a really good looking game. This looks like it could fly on the Super Nintendo. No pun intended. Flying. Ha. You have ship options. So you have like 3 or 4 ships to choose from. You have several attack patterns. And even within the games, this is something that's signature to the Gradius games. You kind of choose how you want to upgrade your ship when you get the upgrades. It's like speed boost, missiles, laser, spread shot, shield, etc. My problem with this game is that no matter how many upgrades you have, the spawn points are horrible. I could not make it through 1 to 2 sections of a level without losing my ship and going back to the basic upgrade. It didn't matter what level it was, level 1, level 3. It was just really annoying finishing this game. It's not to say I didn't like it. I actually really enjoyed it, and even though I found it frustrating, I had fun playing it. But it was not a smooth sailing experience. Nemesis was way better to me, but it's all up to your taste. So most people would probably prefer Gradius Galaxies. I stand by simplicity. So Nemesis is good in my eyes. I would love to talk about it, but I do have one other game to talk about, and that is Tetris Effect. I played the story mode, or journey mode rather, to the end. I had a great time. I'm going to focus on that in the review for today. There's actually, I lied. There's one more game I want to talk about, and that is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Boss Burf has sent this to me quite some time ago, and I've been getting itch to play some Fire Emblem, and I'm satisfying that itch. I'm about 10 hours in. I've taken a little break from it, but I can definitely see myself finishing this one. It's all about when I have that time to game Cube. So when will I game Cube? Hopefully soon. So with that being said, let's get to the review. All right, so you see this right here? This is how I used to enjoy playing Tetris in 9th grade biology. Now you see this right here. This is how I'll enjoy playing Tetris for the rest of my life. After playing through the story/journey mode in Tetris Effect, I don't think I can go back to any other form of Tetris. This game was just a beautiful experience from start to finish. Even though I've only played one mode, I know that the mode is just really a lot to enjoy. So it's called Journey Mode, right? And you go through several stages in several worlds, and a lot of the stages are actually linked together through the worlds. But the beauty of the game is not so much in the arcade experience and, getting high scores, as it is within the individual stages themselves. Because each stage is conceptualized. So like notice on the cover, right, you see these two like mermaids. So as you play through the stage, the effects build up gradually. So for instance, you might start by just seeing like a few glittery effects and then hearing the blocks turn, but as you clear more lines within the stages, you see the stage itself open up into something beautiful. It's really hard to capture what I'm talking about if you don't see it for yourself. I would like to show you that. So in the full review itself, I will show you some footage. But for now, I think you just really need to understand that the type of game that this is a Zen-like game. So since this is a Zen-like game, you really feel like you're in it. It's easy on the eyes. They use these sort of luminescent effects in order to create the Zen. And the songs themselves are well crafted to create a sort of ambience to help you feel like you're playing more than just a game and you're really experiencing something deeper. It's hard for me to describe what the deeper thing is, but even the developers themselves know this while they describe the game to you. Even when you first start the game, they say, feel free to enhance your experience by setting up speakers or plugging in headphones. I had done that several times, and I had turned the lights off in the room, and I really felt captivated while playing. I love the different concepts for each of the stages, and the music that goes along with it. It really does create something special while you play the game. So one thing I would say about the post-game content is I was not as impressed as I had hoped to be. I was hoping for some endless arcade mode, and it was just a bit difficult to get to, if it's even there. I haven't even checked. But the post-game content is this sort of like daily challenge thing, and I don't know why these modern games insist on doing that. I've played several on the PS4 that are similar. I just, when I log into a game, I want some simple menu that's about the game itself. I don't need this online crap. That does not matter to me. I want it to be a simple experience. And the journey mode does that. I haven't quite figured out if the rest of the game does that, but regardless if it does or doesn't, if you can get this game for $20, this is a really fun time. And I don't know how to describe it, but this game made me want to play it. From the first time I'd even seen the trailer to even just playing through it, I did not want to put it down. So I think that speaks volumes about why Tetris Effect is worth your time and worth your money. It's a beautiful reinvention of a classic game, and I think beyond that, you really have to experience it for yourself. I will say it is a bit challenging if you're not well acquainted with Tetris. Like, I would actually play it on easy. I had a difficult time on normal, but still a beautiful experience, for the senses, as far as hearing, as far as seeing, as far as, playing. I think I was sweating at some point. So, give the trailer a try. I would watch that. I would also say maybe watch some footage, listen to the soundtrack, but keep this on your radar. As far as PS4 games go, it's a win in my book. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to ponder. Ponder what, you say? Ponder the topic in this installment of Majora T Speaks. So, last time, what I asked was, what separates a 4 from a 5? You're reviewing a game and you want to give it a 4 or you want to give it a 5. You don't know how. I don't remember if I gave a clear answer, but let's see what you guys said. So one of the issues I had here was that several of the comments were either posted in Majora T or Majora T Speaks, but don't worry about that. I have them both open. I'm ready to go through them. So, starting it off, the Itch Network comes in saying, a 5 is a game I think about long after I play it, and regularly. I may not necessarily always want to play it, but it's something I will always consider. Recent 5s for me are Horizon Zero Dawn, Zelda, Persona 5, Dragon Quest XI, Forza, God of War, and Red Dead Redemption. I love it. He's got a clear definition and examples to go with it. So I think the definition is important here, is that it makes a lasting effect on you that you can't stop thinking about it, versus a 4 is just a really good game that you may not always think about. I have to think about that because, sometimes I might be thinking about a game for the wrong reasons. So I would just shape up that definition a little bit. It's where you think about it as far as like impacting you. And that's where I separate the 4s from the 5s, is like, this game really sent something home for me. Like I would say that about Dragon Quest VII. Like, that game really impacted me. Dragon Quest IV really impacted me. Several Zelda games, you're right. Persona 5 was also a game. I don't know. Like, I still think about playing it sometimes, so I agree with you there. I would like to play Horizon Zero Dawn. And as far as the 4s go, like, I had mentioned Metroid before. I still think it's a 4 even after finishing it because I'm not really, like, impacted by it, but I see your point. So, I like the definition. Great comment. Thanks, Spence. So next up comes What's on My Shelf. He gave me a nice hearty comment for the video. He says, regarding the table topic, I don't see much difference between a score of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. I have to jive with the reviewer to understand why their opinion matters to me. If you and I like certain games and you recommend a game to me, I am more likely to try it than if I heard AVGN recommend a game. I think there are some basics that you can score objectively. However, I believe that subjective fun factor is only understood if you jive with the reviewer. Nice. Okay. I take your point, is that a lot of it comes down to the reviewer and you need to understand them for the score to matter. Now, I don't actually do scores in my reviews, and I know like one of my good friends, BioPhoenix, he's kind of eased his way off of using scores. I wouldn't say as a crutch, but as like a means to use them in the video. I think that words are more important than scores, but I think it's still important to have a category from which to look at a game. But then again, having a score is actually destructive. For instance, I used to read the gaming magazines, the Game Informers, the Nintendo Powers, and I would not look at a game if it's not getting like an 8 or higher, or maybe a 7.75. I wouldn't really consider it because I'm only looking to have the best in my collection. And having weaned off of, gaming scores and whatever, I built up a bigger collection and enjoyed games that reviewers probably have shit on. Maybe if I look at a review score online for Nemesis for the Game Boy, it's not going to be higher than a 3, but I still really enjoyed it. So, I take your point is that I care more about the reviewer and what they're saying than if they gave it a score, because you could give this a 3, but it's still a fun game, and I had a blast with it. Beautiful comment. I love it. Thank you. All right. As far as Naruto hype, actually, and table topics, looks like there's only one more that really addresses the query, and that's Terry309. So he said it before in the stream. He misplaced his copy of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door and lost all of his data for it due to corrupted data. Since then, scalpers have sent the game skyrocketing. The sad thing is, much like me, I reached the final boss of the game but could never beat it. However, the fact that I lost all of my data was so disheartening that I never went back. That and the fact that I lost the game itself is a shame because it's a really fun GameCube gem. Yeah, man, that's tragic. It's actually not the first time I've lost save data. I've lost it for Final Fantasy IX, which is a game I was really enjoying, and then I did not want to put 10 more hours back into it. Eventually I will, but let's keep going. I tend to give a game an excellent rating for ticking all of the boxes, an exceptional rating for going above and beyond. I also give games a satisfactory, good, great rating if I find them enjoyable, even though they have some notable flaws. Don't tick every single box. Then there's mediocre, bad, and just awful. I don't think I've ever given an awful rating for a game, because if a game is awful, I would never review it. Okay. With all that in mind, it's difficult to say what I consider a 4 or 5 and what I consider a 5 out of 5. I suppose games with excellent or higher, I would give a 5 out of 5, and games with good or higher, a 4 out of 5. Satisfactory, a 3, mediocre, 2, bad or awful would be a 1. See, I like that, though, is that you have boxes that the games meet. I don't necessarily go through a game with a checklist of, like, you have to meet this, this, and this. I don't think that's that important when determining what makes the game perfect. But I guess if you're putting it on a numerical score, it's important to have, like, a rubric or something from which to grade it. I don't do that because I don't think that's, so important when enjoying a gaming experience, and I don't want to have to think like that when playing a game. So, for instance, like, I could check off the box for Tetris Effect that says, like, it's stunning visuals and it was really great adventure mode. Oh, but it didn't meet the checklist of, like, all of the modes were spectacular. I don't think there's, like, a cut in stone answer for it. There can be if you are, like, a game reviewer, but if you are just someone who likes to enjoy games, maybe it's not even important to have, a grading system of, like, 1 to 5. Maybe it's just important to, like, just talk about them and just enjoy them for what they are, regardless of the scores. But it's fun to talk about. That's my table topic for last month. Now I got a good one for you this month. And it actually relates to the game I had talked about in the month review, which was Fire Emblem Awakening. No, I lied. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I lied. These games all blend after a while. I started this game when Boston Burr first sent it to me. I got to Chapter 9. I stopped. And now I've restarted it. I'm probably at Chapter 11. And I had to take a break. My question for you is, when you take a break from a long game, whether it's like a RPG or an adventure game or action game, is it better to restart it, or is it better to just keep playing from, like, the halfway point? This is not the first game I've done that to. I've started a lot of games and then put them down for whatever reason, if it's boredom, if it's tiredness, if I just want to set up a new console. I do it a lot. And sometimes I think to myself, oh, I really need to restart this. Other times I'm like, I'm going to power through it because I remember most of the details. But I could think of many examples just off the top of my head. Dragon Quest V, Dragon Quest VIII, and those are series I love. Do I really want to restart them from the beginning? Am I going to do the same exact thing over, or do I really need to experience it in one linear playthrough? I'm going to leave it to you, and then I'll give you my answer next time. So, to restart or not to restart? That is the question for the next Majora T Speaks. Alright, so in closing, I actually got to give a shout out to my man, the DTG, Dead Thumb Gamer. So one thing he had asked me to do in future Majora T Speaks or table topics was respond to a sort of tiredness that has been hitting YouTube creators and why the game has kind of changed and like the platform's not the same. I want to give my personal input on it. I don't necessarily want to do a table topics on it yet. So as somebody who enjoys YouTube and YouTube content creation and YouTube content creators, I do watch some bigger channels. And one thing that a lot of bigger channels will say is that they get frustrated with YouTube. They get frustrated with it for flagging their videos, for not allowing them sort of like freedom of speech by like demonetizing their videos and then like counting them views. And it creates a real negativity around the platform and around media sharing. Now, I've wrestled with this myself because, it then affects me like, oh, I don't want to put this video up because maybe it'll get flagged. But I don't actually care because I'm not making money off YouTube anyway. I'm not at the sub threshold. I've never made a dime off YouTube. And I think that's what hurts others too, is that they wrestle with the idea of YouTube as a money-making platform and a real chance to expand, their videos to reach an audience. And YouTubers haven't grown out of that. It used to be fun for people because there was the dream and the idea of making money. But when you've got people at the top telling you, oh, it's not feasible, well, then they've lost their encouragement, they've lost their motivation, and they lost their people who they look up to and respect. So I think you're seeing YouTubers drop like flies right now because they can't handle it. Because they can't handle the idea of not being able to chase their dream. And you'll notice like this installment of Majora T came out a little later. I would say that, I do have a tiredness when it comes to content creation, and even me, I've been lazy with the edits and everything, but I still love making videos and I love coming out here. And, whether I make the dollar or not doesn't matter because I don't want to lose what I have here. And that's a great community of people who are like-minded. I don't think you get this anywhere else. You don't get this in the real world, like a community of people who you can chat about like, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance with, or who you can have a hearty discussion about game completion or game reviews with. No, it's really only on YouTube. And that's why I'm not going to let this platform die for me or for you guys. I'm going to keep coming out here and doing my best to give you videos regardless of how work or real life interferes. So with that being said, this has been Majora T 2. I hope you had a good time and you look forward to the next one. So with that being said, sayonara anatatachi. I'm really working on my Japanese. So hopefully I'll see you next time with more fluency in that. But enjoy your games, enjoy your media, and enjoy your lives. Don't let the little things mess you up, All right. Be good. See y'all later.